All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leisrealtalk. All right. Let's talk about the Xi Jinping Curse tonight. In my last program, I said the blood moon was an ominous sign, a warning that turbulence was coming. And sure enough, look at what has happened since that blood moon on Sunday. The world has been hit with one crisis after another. Well, first of all, Russia sent drones into Poland in a brazen provocation, forcing Polish fighter jets to shoot them down and driving Russia-NATO tensions through the roof. Israel launched an unprecedented strike in Qatar, targeting Hamas political chiefs right in Doha. In France, Macron's government collapsed yet again after his prime minister lost a confidence vote, and Macron had to scramble to elevate his defense minister as the new PM. And in the United States, a shocking event. Charlie Kirk, a young rising conservative leader, was assassinated in Utah, sending shockwaves across America and beyond. And in Asia, Nepal, I should say, the birthplace of the Buddha Shakyamuni, furious Gen Z protesters toppled their communist government in just 2 days. Of all these events, two stand out above the rest. Charlie Kirk's death will transform the political landscape of the United States. Nepal's sudden regime change will inspire the Chinese to fight for their future. Since my channel focuses on China-related topics, I'm going to address or focus on the latter tonight. Now, of course, we can chalk all this up to the blood moon. Not everyone believes in omens. But if you look closely, you will find another hidden pattern, what I call the Xi Jinping curse. What does it mean? It seems that whenever a world leader meets Xi Jinping, misfortune follows. They either stumble into bad luck or make reckless decisions that end in disasters. Take Vladimir Putin, for example. After meeting Xi Jinping in February 2022, he launched the war in Ukraine, turning himself into an international outcast. Now, fresh back from Beijing's military parade, he's pushing provocations in Europe again, acts that could backfire and drag him into an even deeper crisis. So, is that the Xi Jinping curse at work? I'm not making this up. I've collected at least 9 examples to prove this curse exists. I'm going to go through them one by one tonight. In today's turbulent world, I hope these cases can serve as a warning to world leaders and everyday people like us. Stay away from the CCP or misfortune will follow. So let's start with one of the most significant events in the past few days. That's Nepal's regime collapse. So Nepal's 93rd prime minister, his name is KP Sharma Oli, now former prime minister, was in Beijing just last week. Smiling beside Xi Jinping at the Tiananmen military parade, hand in hand with his wife, he strolled through the Forbidden City, looking comfortable and secure, presenting themselves as part of Xi Jinping's grand community of destiny. I think that the shared, the grand community of common destiny. But who could have imagined less than a week after returning home, Oli wasn't just out of power, he was on the run. He resigned in panic and fled by helicopter with 7 of his close ministers. Nobody knows where he is now. Some say he's in Dubai, but that has not been confirmed. Nepal is the birthplace of the Buddha, yet it also happens to be the South Asian country most deeply penetrated by communism. There's a beautiful picture of Nepal. And that's a striking historical contrast, right? Birthplace of Buddha, and then a communist state. On paper, it's a multi-party democracy, but in reality, its top three parties are all communist parties, just under different names. And Oli himself is a communist. So this is a poor nation of nearly 30 million people, ranked near the bottom of the global economy. Right after returning from Beijing, Oli announced a sweeping ban on 26 social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, X, and more. The ban was issued on Friday. By Monday, young people were in the streets. By Tuesday, the government had collapsed. The prime minister had fled, and both the prime minister and president had resigned. So how could a society of 30 million unravel so fast? The answer is the government was already despised, and all it needed was a spark. And the social media ban provided just that. There's a reason to believe that Nepal imported China's internet blocking technology. And since 2014, its fiber optic networks have been built with Chinese investment from China Telecom, Huawei, and ZTE. Its major telecom operators use Chinese equipment. And under the Belt and Road Digital Silk Road, Nepal has cooperated with Beijing on information filtering and censorship. Human rights groups have noted Nepal's interest in copying China's Great Firewall. So it's not far-fetched to think that Oli sought support in this area during his recent Beijing visit. So why the sudden rush to shut down social media after returning from Beijing? Because Nepal faces the same problems as China. The economy is in free fall. Youth unemployment is very high. Young people see no future. Corruption is rampant. And the flaunting of wealth by elites' children constantly rubbed salt in the wound. The anger wasn't just about the internet. The ban was simply the match that lit the fire. So Oli ordered a brutal crackdown, and on the first day of the protest, at least 19 people were killed and more than 200 injured. The next day, even more poured into the streets. Death rose to 22, and protesters seized weapons, stormed parliament, torched the ruling party's headquarters, and even set fire to Oli's residence. In chaos, he resigned and fled. But other officials weren't so lucky. Some were dragged out and beaten. There are videos showing protesters rip down the red communist flag and throw it to the ground. So if you look at the timing, Oli had just shaken hands with Xi Jinping and basked in a glow of Beijing's power. But within days, his rule had crumbled and his country was in flames. It is called the Xi Jinping Curse. Whenever a head of state goes to kowtow to the CCP or the CCP leader, bad luck soon follows. And I have more examples. Okay, so example number 2, Syria. Okay, so you're familiar with this guy. So that was September 21st, 2023. Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad arrived in Hangzhou for the Asian Games on a plane that Xi Jinping had sent for him. She personally greeted him. To honor Assad, she even opened the main gate of the historic Lin Temple. Here we go. The red carpet, he laid out red carpet in front of the Lin Temple. Now, the front gate, the main gate of Lin Temple, are almost never opened. Traditionally, to show respect to the Buddha, visitors enter through side doors. The last time the main gates were open was in 1983 for Deng Xiaoping, and before that, during the Qianlong Emperor's visit in the 18th century. That just tells you they don't open the front door of this temple. So when Xi Jinping opened the temple gates for Assad, Chinese whispers spread. They were discussing it could be bad luck for Assad because it's disrespectful. And plus, he isn't a Buddhist, right? So why would you open the front door of one of the most revered temples in China for someone who isn't even a Buddhist? But Assad doesn't know. He was elated at such an honor, signing a joint statement on a strategic partnership in Beijing. Guess what? Less than 3 months later, on December 8th, everything collapsed in Syria. Yeah. Rebel forces stormed Damascus. Assad fled to Russia, and his regime fell overnight. Was that the Xi Jinping curse? Okay, here's my third example, Bangladesh. Prime Minister Sheikh, I hope I'm saying her name right, Sheikh Hasina, visited Beijing in July 2024, which was her 6th trip to China. She warmly shook Xi Jinping's hand, celebrated Belt and Road projects, praised duty-free access for 98% of Bangladeshi exports to China, and secured about $7 billion in loans. I think it's $7 billion in loans. She returned home in high spirits, but less than a month later, on August the 5th, her rule collapsed. Mass protests had been building since June, driven by students and ordinary citizens being furious over civil service quotas favoring government officials. Hasina deployed the military nationwide, ordered sweeping crackdowns, and unleashed unprecedented repression. On July 22nd, at least, I'm not sure if it's on July 22nd, but at least 163 people were dead. Thousands were arrested, and the crackdown was ferocious. But the public anger was unstoppable. In the end, the 5-time prime minister and Xi Jinping's old friend resigned and fled to India, just 1 month after meeting Xi Jinping in Beijing. So this curse doesn't just follow dictators or authoritarian rulers. Even democratic leaders can't escape the reach of this curse. Once they turn conciliatory toward Beijing, their careers and reputations take a hit, and bad luck follows them. So my fourth example is Myanmar. This lady, Aung San Suu Kyi, was once revered worldwide as a human rights icon. During her years in opposition, she was cautious and somewhat wary of Beijing. But once she came to power, she pivoted toward closer engagement. She visited Beijing multiple times and backed Xi Jinping's Belt and Road initiative. In return, China shielded Myanmar from harsh UN resolutions over the Rohingya crackdown, right? And then Xi Jinping's last overseas trip before the pandemic was to Myanmar in January 2020, where Suu Kyi hosted him. They discussed trade, 5-year cooperation plans, Belt and Road projects, and cultural exchanges. And after her re-election in November 2020, Xi Jinping congratulated her and pledged deeper ties. But less than 3 months later, on February 1st, 2021, Myanmar's military staged a coup, imprisoning Suu Kyi, and by July 2023, she was moved to house arrest in a government compound, where she remains today. My fifth example goes to South Korea's only female president. So Park Geun-hye, the daughter of former President Park Chung-hee, was South Korea's first female president. Though she is affiliated with the conservative camp, her relationship with China was unusually close by South Korean standards. She visited Beijing in June 2013 as one of her first major international visits. Xi Jinping reciprocated a year later by visiting Seoul, significantly before visiting North Korea, Pyongyang. Most notably, on September 3rd, 2015, Park stood, here's the picture. She stood right next to Vladimir Putin, accompanying Xi Jinping at the military parade. And here's another shocking picture. This picture looks familiar to you. So Kim Jong-un took her spot 10 years later, last week. So that was the picture from 10 years ago. So her placement next to Putin, and next to Xi Jinping, I mean, next to Putin on the Tiananmen rostrum, and here, right next to Xi Jinping, was a major gesture. But back home, deepening ties with Beijing stirred controversy. Soon after, the Xi Jinping curse struck. Barely a year later, Park was engulfed in a corruption scandal. And then on December 9th, 2016, she was impeached and stripped of power. By March 2017, she was arrested on 13 counts, including bribery, abuse of power, coercion, and leaking state secrets. She was sent to Seoul Detention Center as prisoner number 503. Okay, 6th example. Here you see two Japanese prime minister. Shigeru Ishiba has been known as one of the more pro-Beijing leaders, compared to his predecessor, Fumio Kishida, who leaned closer to the US in pushing back against China. Ishiba struck a softer, more conciliatory tone. Shortly after taking office in November 2024, he met Xi Jinping in Peru. There, he offered Beijing an olive branch, insisting Japan had no intention of decoupling and proposing stronger cultural exchanges, trade, green development, and healthcare cooperation. I don't know what he has in mind or what he had in mind. There's no healthcare cooperation. Either you help the Chinese steal your medical science technology, there's no healthcare cooperation. So anyways, and then this April, while negotiating tariffs with the US, Ishiba sent a personal message to Xi Jinping through the visiting Komeito Party delegation, hoping to maintain a careful balance with China. But this balancing act backfired. You all know on September 7th, facing overwhelming disapproval inside his own party, he was forced to resign. Of course, there are many factors behind his unpopularity, but his soft conciliatory posture toward Beijing at the time when much of the world is standing up to the CCP was a major one. Now, the above 6 examples so far share the same consequence. The head of state was either toppled, forced to resign, or stepped down. The next 3 examples haven't yet led to resignation or regime change, but they have caused severe political backlash and can also be seen as part of the Xi Jinping curse. Who's on my list? Yes, France's Emmanuel Macron. So he has been one of the most active among the European leaders. He has been one of the most active in engaging Beijing. His April 2023 visit to China, where he shared a private tea session with Xi Jinping, here in the picture, was blasted as far too differential, even kowtowing. Since then, France's streets have only grown more restless. Fast forward to today, Macron has already seen 3 prime ministers resign this year. His government itself is tottering. Finishing out his term through 2027 now looks more difficult than ever. Now let's talk about Modi, India's Modi. Modi has historically had a tense relationship with Beijing. Border clashes in Ladakh, bans on Chinese apps, tighter rules on Chinese investment, and alignment with the US through the Quad. But recently, especially in late summer 2025, he has grown more warm, or he has grown warmer, or he has shown more warmth toward China. 2 weeks ago, he attended the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin, where he was seen interacting cordially with Xi Jinping. This move sparked internal backlash at home and sharp criticism abroad. So President Trump lumped India together with Russia, accusing both of embracing dark China. 2 days ago, Trump called on the EU to join the US in imposing 100% secondary tariff on both China and India for continuing to buy Russian oil. Now, Washington has already punished India on the same grounds, slapping a 50% tariff. Although President Trump later softened his tone, but Modi's warm gestures towards both Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin have left him teetering at the edge of the Xi Jinping curse. Very risky territory, in my opinion. The next example is Hamas. This picture was from July 2024. It was taken during the 14 faction. It was Hamas and Fatah, the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement, and then the Palestinian National Liberation Movement. They joined 12 other factions in Beijing to sign a joint declaration. I think it's called the Beijing Declaration. They pledged to achieve national unity under the PLO framework and to stand together against Israel. Of course, Beijing brokered this. So in that moment, Hamas and the CCP were enjoying a warm and interest-driven relationship. But who could have predicted what followed? Just a week later, Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated. By October, one of Hamas's founding figures, Sinwar, was killed in an Israeli strike. Since then, Hamas's fortunes have only worsened. And then on September 9th, Israel launched a shocking air raid on Doha, killing six senior Hamas leaders hiding there. So, and there's the CCP itself. This is the 10th example. So the curse can even turn inward. Under Xi Jinping's decade plus in power, the party itself has been battered. The economy is broken. Infrastructure is collapsing from faulty construction and poor maintenance. The bureaucratic system has been turned upside down. Diplomacy is in shambles. The military, demoralized, hollowed out by endless purges, hardly in shape to fight. So the Xi Jinping curse doesn't just strike foreign leaders, it is eating away at the CCP from within. The lesson, whoever draws too close, whatever leader, whatever institution, sooner or later ends in ruin. So now I want to talk about the impact of the Nepalese uprising on the Chinese, because their sudden regime change has quickly spread to China. In the past 2 days, signs of resistance against the CCP have grown inside China, and anti-CCP slogans have appeared in Beijing, in the capital city, on stone pillars, bridge supports, and bulletin boards. So here's one I want to share with you. This one, this is from Beijing. So this appeared on September the 10th. This one says, tanks cannot crush the truth. Freedom will ultimately defeat tyranny. And then on the right, a banner over a sky bridge simply said, democracy. And then on the same day, a bridge support carried this graffiti. It's long, but it says, Syria, Bangladesh, Nepal, the people have all risen for power. And yet we remain silent, lining up in the rain to petition to the regime. It's like organs waiting to be harvested. Better to blaze once than fade forever. They too have weak spots. Let them know the ultimate meaning of equality, that those who torment us, exploit us, enslave us, and harvest our organs, they too will fear. They are not immortal. They too have families, children, grandchildren, so on. And another photo showed up online the next day. This one is hilarious. If you read Chinese, you're going to laugh. So someone had altered CCP propaganda posters by adding 2 mocking characters at the end of each slogan, turning them into biting sarcasm. So it says, the Communist Party is good, and then says, kiss my rear end. And then socialism is good, pure nonsense. Reform and opening up is good. What a joke. And it's not just Beijing. An unprecedented wave of anti-CCP slogans have been spotted across China. Graffiti has appeared in hallways, on utility poles, on bridges, and even in bathroom stalls. I want to share with you. Oh yeah, this is an open letter. This appeared a little earlier. This is not in the past 2 days. This one appeared on August 31st. But I believe it's also in Beijing. Yeah. It's an open letter asking the party secretary general, which is Xi Jinping, to step down. And it gave like 3 major reasons. And another one is found inside, this one is inside the bathroom stall, inside a high-speed rail bathroom. It's actually in the train, on the train. So it reads, my friend in his 30s died, but the Xi pig wants to live to 150. 1.4 billion organs wake up. That's quite something. So, all right. Let me come back. So Nepal may be small, but its sudden political earthquake sent shockwaves to Beijing, where the regime feels the sting in its back. The message to China is clear. 1, authoritarian rule is fragile. A regime that looks solid can collapse overnight. 2, even the smallest spark, a blank sheet of paper, a hashtag, a deleted post, can ignite an explosion. 3, non-cooperation is power. People can resist simply by lying flat, refusing to comply, or closing their wallets. Nepal's youth won because the army stayed neutral. Some soldiers even sided with the people. The same could happen in China. If a mass uprising breaks out and the PLA doesn't move, Xi Jinping will have to step down. And with Zhang Youxia tightening his grip on the military, that scenario most likely will become possible. So from that perspective, China may very well be the next to collapse, and the Xi Jinping curse could strike home. All right, that's all I have for you tonight. I just want to mention that while we're on the subject, actually related to the subject, the video we released in the Looking Glass channel is actually also about when the CCP will collapse. It also talks about how Xi Jinping will end the regime. I found that story very fascinating because it through one man's story, it talks about China's past, present, and future. And it's a fascinating story about the rebirth, the guilt, and the prediction of the founding father of the Republic of China. It's a real story. So I hope you'll check it out. All right, that's all for tonight. Let's see what comments people have. All right. Yeah. There may be other examples, but these are the top ones that came to my mind. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Kevin Stan, yeah, I don't know how to say your name. Stankiewicz. Successful revolt in Nepal yesterday. Will the next door Tibetans pick up the fight to free Tibet? Then will the revolt could spread across China? I think it would be the other way around. I think it will be the other way around, not Tibetans, because I think the CCP's surveillance and control, their surveillance in Tibet is much stronger than other parts of China. I think if there's any revolt, it will be in China's cities. May not be in Shanghai or Beijing. It could be, but people think it will be in Sichuan, because people from Sichuan have a fiery spirit. Yeah, and there is a expression like Sichuan will lead all other localities in terms of uprising. Yeah, so I don't think it will start in Tibet. I think it will start in Sichuan. All right, Kevin again. Can India and Dalai Lama support a revolt in Tibet? But if you look at Dalai Lama is old. He's really old. I don't know if he still has the will. I mean, if he wants to do it, he should have done it like years ago, right? And then India, judging by the way Modi has behaved, I don't think so. So I don't think India and Dalai Lama will I mean, they will support if it happens, but I don't think it will happen. Not in Tibet. It could spread to Tibet, but it will not start in Tibet. All right, Chris, if you copy the link in the comments so people could watch the video afterwards. Thank you. Manny Kyla, does China give weapons to Hamas and Hezbollah directly, or does it use Iran as a middleman? No, there are Chinese military personnel spotted in helping Hamas. I mean, they help Hamas build the underground tunnels. Yeah, there were Chinese military personnel trapped in the tunnels when Israel bombed Gaza. So there were videos, right? There were even videos showing how the Chinese were trapped inside the tunnels. So they were not just providing weapons, they were directly helping them. I mean, sending them weapons is one, but sending your people to help them, that's even more direct. Like you're directly involved. Your people are on site. All right. Okay. All right, let's see. Sichuan people eat spicy foods from Samantha Stables. I think that's why they're spicier, hence more rebellious. It's true. I mean, they have spicy food, they eat fiery food, but the people in Sichuan really, they have a lot of guts. And if you look at the last, the revolution that toppled the Qing dynasty, it started in Sichuan, right? So, and then also the recent projection. Remember, there was a man who remotely started a projection, outdoor projection onto in Chengdu, near the college campuses. That's also in Sichuan. So it is Sichuan. Okay. All right. Cantonese and Sichuan chili oil. But no, Cantonese are not. No, not in Canton. I don't think it's Canton. But Cantonese don't eat spicy food. Yeah, Cantonese food is very mild and delicate. They have a very delicate taste. But the Sichuan food is fiery. All right. That's all. I think I reached the bottom of, wow, reached the bottom. So do you guys think the Xi Jinping curse exists? Type 1, you think it does? Type 2, you think it doesn't? Type 3, if you think you're not sure. I'm just curious. I think it does. So let me see what people think. 1, yes. 2, no. 3, not sure. 2, 1, okay. 3, let me see. Okay, we have mostly ones who have 6. Okay. All right, let's see. There are 4s. So what does 4 mean? We have 1s, 2s, mostly 1s. Some 2s, some 3s. Okay. No curse. All right, they're 9s. Oh my goodness. Okay, for sure it's 1. All right. That seems to be all. Okay, Joe Williams. Is the century of humiliation the main reason why China has this hostility towards the West? China does not have hostility towards the West. It's the CCP has hostility towards everyone because its ambition is to rule over the world. Communist agenda is about taking over the world. And that's why it has this hostility. But Chinese people, Chinese culture, or even China doesn't have hostility towards the West. Before the CCP took over in the 1940s, China, I made a couple of videos years ago about the collaboration between the United States and China. China helped the US build 3 of its naval vessels. I mean, Chinese manufacturing back then was far superior than it is today. If you think China's industrial capability today is more advanced, you're wrong. In the 1940s, China's shipbuilding capability was quite advanced. It helped the US build 3 naval vessels. Today, would the United States ask China to build its naval vessels? Absolutely not. You know, I think the quality will not pass. All right, let's see. All right. People didn't think Japan had planes. You mean back then? All right. Okay, we're going to end it here. Oh, here's a question. EJ Belge. Like, can you talk about how CCP uses population migration, moving Han Chinese into areas as a method of control over other ethnicity, including Tibetans? Yes, this is actually one of the most major strategies that Chinese has done. You could call it's ethnic cleansing through migration. So the CCP, as soon as they took over, they have mobilized, I don't know the exact number, but it could be in the millions, people from England, from China's inland, into territories like the Inner Mongolia and also Tibet and Xinjiang. And the purpose is to increase the percentage of Han ethnicity in those regions to eventually make Tibetans a minority in their own region, and then also forcing upon them Chinese culture, Chinese language. And they've been doing this for decades. So it is and then they focus on the elite Tibetans. Actually, my parents, was sent to Inner Mongolia way back when. Yeah, they spent a couple of years in Inner Mongolia, and then they returned. So that is their strategy. All right, we are going to end it earlier today. I will see you this weekend. Okay? All righty. Bye.